Stella walked briskly away from the school, her phone still in hand. Her face was tense, her mind racing as she headed toward her car. She barely made it a few steps before she heard footsteps behind her. "Stella, wait," the voice shouted. Stella clenched her jaw, clearly wanting to avoid this conversation, but Dr. Elizabeth was persistent. "You know something, don't you? About the kidnapping?" Stella finally stops, turns around slowly, and faces Dr. Elizabeth. Her face remains stoic, unreadable. "You don't need to pretend. I overheard your conversation in the restroom." Stella tried to hide her shock, but it was pointless. Before Stella could respond, they heard a faint shuffling sound nearby. Both women glanced toward the source of the noise. Mercy was crouched behind a car, eavesdropping. "I thought I told you to let me handle this," Dr. Elizabeth said angrily. "I'm worried about my daughter. You don't expect me to allow you to sideline me." "I'm desperate to know the truth," Mercy said before turning to face Stella. "It's time you let us know what's really going on. We're all involved in this now." Stella narrows her eyes, still hesitant. "Fine. But not here. Too many ears," she said before opening her car to drive off. Back at Stella's house, the doorbell rang, and Fatima walked to the door to answer. As she opens the door, she sees Dr. Elizabeth, whom she had known for years as Stella's psychologist, but she wasn't familiar with the other lady. She ushers them in and serves them a cup of coffee. Stella joins them in the living room, and there is an unusual silence before Dr. Elizabeth speaks. "The police will start visiting each home to start their investigation. It's best to let them know the challenge you might be facing that has warranted such a terrible experience for those children," she said, giving Stella a judgmental look. "This isn't a simple kidnapping. The people who took our children are professionals, not opportunists. They planned this." Her tone is cold and factual, but there's a heavy weight behind her words. Dr. Elizabeth exchanged a worried glance with Mercy. "Why would they do that? What could they possibly want?" Dr. Elizabeth asked. Stella hesitated a bit. She was not used to revealing anything about her past, but this is different. Their children's lives are at stake. "It's me. They want me. This is personal," she managed to say quietly. "Care to explain?" Stella crosses her arms, pacing slightly as she begins to explain, her voice low and controlled. "Years ago, I was involved in a covert operation during my time in the military. I was broken due to me witnessing the death of my best friend, and I desperately needed a break from the Sambisa forest. We targeted harmless individuals unknown to me at that point. When I found out, I was already in love and pregnant for my boss, so I decided to relocate and keep a low profile to protect my daughter, but he found me and wants me to kill innocent people before he can let the children go." The room falls into a heavy silence as the weight of Stella's revelation sinks in. Mercy rubs her face in frustration, while Dr. Elizabeth processes the information with keen interest. "So you mean the father of your child kidnapped our children?" Mercy asked. "He is no father to my child," Stella said sternly, her voice shaking as she tried to hold back her tears. "I don't intend to do as he wants, but I have to be smart if I'm going to defeat Akindale and get those children back safely, but I can't do this alone." "We are in this together," Dr. Elizabeth interrupted. "What's your plan?" Mercy asked. Stella stood up quietly and led them into a door-like bookshelf in her study. "Before a battle, you need to learn defense," she said as she revealed a room filled with standard military weapons, leaving Dr. Elizabeth and Mercy jaw-dropped and speechless.